couple of weeks ago, President Medvedev didn't bring this up as an obstacle. Our change in architecture for a missile plan that protected Europe and protected this homeland in a better way was announced last September. Yet we have had substantive negotiations going on for many months. I think the notion that somehow this is in any way an impediment to what's going on with START is simply it's simply not true. It certainly wasn't what President Medvedev told President Obama.
Well, okay. Russian Armed Forces Chief of Staff Nikolai Makarov said, despite the declaration of those statesmen who say that, on the contrary, it provides for our security, that's far from the case.
I would, again, I hate to contradict the president of Russia in speaking to the president of the United States about getting a START deal done and not mentioning in a phone call that's happening in the Oval Office something like this, because it's just not the case. It's not what's holding up these negotiations. These negotiations are ongoing. If it was, there's a series of things that look. Whenever you get down to this point in a treaty, you're taking conceptual agreements and putting them into words, and there are going to be some fights over different words, and that's what they're working through. But I can assure you, it's not our different approach to missiles. Yeah.
Some Republicans on the Hill have been critical of this administration for not getting them involved in the debate, whether it be health care reform or other issues as well.
Like
the White
what?
House has now invited them
But
to
like
the White
what other
House
issues?
today. Well, financial reforms,
Again,
stimulus.
Senator Dodd and Senator Shelby up until Friday were working together on a bipartisan package for financial reform, and
But they've been critical that they haven't been brought in for the process. And now they're being brought in now. They're going to be brought in on the 25th again. Is this something that the White House, in hindsight, is saying we should have involved Republicans? All of us.
We're paving the road again to bipartisanship. But then you've got
There
to.
seems to be a more aggressive effort now to involve Republicans.
No,
certainly
no,
in
I don't think
healthcare
that's. I don't think that's true. Again, I will go back and try to figure out the number of times that the president talked to Republican senators in trying to get the Finance Committee to come to an agreement. It was many, many times. We hosted meetings down here. The notion, it's quite revisionist to think that somehow. Remember, we were in the summer. We were all these questions about when are you just going to get through this whole Finance Committee thing and get to the floor? Well, we spent hours and hours and hours, many conversations, trying to bring Republicans on the Finance Committee along. Senator Snowe did join in that Finance Committee vote, and she did work constructively, and we worked constructively with her. So,
Not just about that, but also healthcare reform as well.
Well, that is
They
healthcare
failed-
reform. That's what I was
no,
just
but what I'm saying is all the entire reforms that have been going on, whether it's financial reform, they feel that Republicans have not been brought into this process.
Again,
The White House seems to be more aggressive in doing that now.
we have a fundamental disagreement about the premise of your question. Chip?
Yeah, following up on that, just curious, if you hadn't spent all that time talking to Republicans, you might have passed health care reform before Christmas. Big mistake?
I thought about a lottery ticket yesterday. Maybe I'd have won the lottery.
Well,
I don't
no, but
know
seriously,
whether
this,
that's,
I mean, if.
No, I don't think it was a mistake at all. If we thought it was a mistake, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. But again, remember this: the president went to Capitol Hill to talk to House Republicans about supporting a recovery plan. Right before we could load the pool up and get in the motorcade, they put out a statement opposing the recovery plan. Look, you can't. This is exactly what the president said, Chip. If bipartisanship means I'm going to give up everything I believe and adopt everything that you believe, that's not bipartisanship. It's never been bipartisanship in this town. If bipartisanship means we're going to take into account some of your ideas, you're going to take into account some of our ideas, nobody's likely to get 100% of what they want, but we're going to meet somewhere in the middle to make progress on an issue for the American people. That's what the definition of bipartisanship has been for several hundred years, and that's what we hope each party is interested in doing now.
Now, the president gave the impression that there was, when he was on the deficit, that there was a tone of bipartisanship in the room, and he was talking about pushing this idea of a bipartisan commission. But immediately afterward, both Boehner and McConnell came out, and Boehner in particular said that the Democrats and the president have been on a spending binge. I mean, they immediately went into full partisan mode and said the
Well, I
president
mean,
doesn't need a bipartisan
I hope
commission.
you'll,
All he needs is to make the tough decisions
Well,
himself.
I hope you'll get your congressional reporter to ask why, after a bipartisan meeting in discussing solutions, Chip, nobody in their right mind could blame everything that's happened on one party in spending, right? Nobody could. Now, so whether they want to come out of the White House in a bipartisan meeting and somehow decide that history is far different than the way any normal human being would read it, that's up for them to defend. But I would say, no, the point is this. The point is this, that Leader Boehner co-sponsored a bill by Frank Wolf and Jim Cooper to set up a commission that did not have an equal number of House Democrats and Republicans on the commission. Senator McConnell, in a number of different venues, including in November on CNN, spoke quite passionately for the Conrad Gregg Commission. The president weighed in and supported the Conrad Gregg Commission, right, which is set up very, very, very similarly to the Wolf-Cooper proposal that Leader Boehner supported in the House. We put that up for a vote. Now, if each party is serious in dealing with the deficit, we wouldn't normally think that you'd need 60 votes in the Senate, where all you can pass something based on a majority. You wouldn't think you'd need 60 votes if each was serious about working on the deficit, right? But alas, that's what was asked for, 60 votes, right? So let's rewind and talk about what happened in that vote. It got 53 votes. Not all Republicans supported it. Not all Democrats supported it. That's fine. But we got 53 votes, 7 short of the necessary 60. Those 7 votes could have been gotten by the 6 co-sponsors of that bill in December that decided not to vote for it, and a 7th, an active co-sponsor that also decided not to vote for it. They're the 7 votes. But look, Chip, the president has laid out last year $17 billion worth of spending cuts, and we got 60% of those. The president's laid out $20 billion in spending cuts this year. We hope to get those. If Congress wants to do better than that, the president is happy to look at it. The president talked about, with Paul Ryan, a line item veto. They talked about rescissions in there, and the president will certainly look at those.
But the point is, hasn't it been made very clear to the president from the Republican leaders that there is no compromise on both the bipartisan commission and health care reform? They want them to scrap the bill. So for the president to keep pushing these things, isn't he engaging in this political theater by saying,
no, not at all.
Come to the table and talk to us? They've made clear they're not going to.
So 53 senators supported a debt commission, right? The senator who was at the meeting representing the Senate Republicans just 2 months ago said he supported it. The leader of the House Republicans, no.
Isn't it just political theater to keep
No,
harping on it?
No, it's political theater to when something comes to a vote, and the president was very clear about this. He said to both John and Mitch, he said, guys, it doesn't really work in this town if I say, yeah, I'm for that, and then you decide that you have been for that and now you're not. Now, I don't know what the definition of that is, Chip, and I presume you'll have a congressional correspondent ask Mitch McConnell and John Boehner why on earth each would support something, and then when it came to a vote, they would not support it. The president, look, they have concerns about what would be on the table. Well, here's a good idea. There's a budget process that will go on Capitol Hill. If you have an idea about how to structure our budget, we've got no problem voting on that. I have no doubt that if the House Republicans or the Senate Republicans want to put forward a budget, that should be voted on. Absolutely. I can't imagine anybody would stand in the way of having that budget voted on. Laura?
2 questions. One is, the president just mentioned his proposal to make TARP funds available for small banks to make small business lending. How important is it that that be part of the package the Senate considers immediately?
I need to talk with legislative affairs and see where that is in the process of what's being considered by the Senate. But understand that to a person in this meeting, everyone mentioned prior to the discussion